Hi friends, so we're going to go ahead and do our next video here. Hopefully you're doing well. This is our last day of this unit. It's going to be our trig applications. Now, it's really tough for us to pick some applications because there's literally so many, but we're really going to focus on two main concepts here today, which are angle of elevation, which I want you to think of as really like looking up, and angle of angle of depression, which is going to be looking down. So those are going to be our two things. And I really want you to highlight these concepts of up and down. Look for those because most of the time they'll write elevation or depression in it. If not, you kind of have to just use that common sense. But we have these little diagrams right here to help us out. So angle of elevation, notice we're looking up at this plane up here, and then we're chilling down here. So what we can see is that this is going to make a lovely right triangle. And so we always have a 90-degree box here. And then this is going to become our theta. That's the most important part, is where do we put our theta? And then angle of depression is we're looking down. So notice we're making this lovely little triangle right here. I missed that side there. Let's try that again. But as I'm looking down, again, it's so important for us to decide where we're going to put that theta. I'm going to put that theta right there. Okay? So what I would want you to notice is that theta in both cases is right next to the flat line. So it's next to the flat line. Okay, so our goal is to try basically to draw these two questions and then figure out what we did before. What trig we can use to find what we need, in like the examples in the videos we've done before. All right, so again, what I like to do is I like to read the question first. Sometimes I think that's helpful. So the question is generally at the end. So what is the distance from the seal to the cliff? Okay, so I'm looking for distance. So that means I'm going to use my regular trig functions. And then I'm going to scan for my keywords today. Remember, those keywords are elevation and depression. So it tells me angle of depression is 52 degrees. So whenever I see that, you're immediately going to draw a picture. And that's really so we're going to draw the picture for depression. And that's going to be the big thing for us today. That's going to be so helpful, is to draw that picture correctly. So just like we see up there in blue, this is the worst triangle ever, but you guys will let me go. And then I'm going to put my theta right here. Now my theta in this case is 52 degrees. Okay, so once we have that, it kind of helps us put everything together. So Maria is at the top of the cliff. So in case this is Maria, we'll go ahead and amazing, I'm not an art teacher, I know. And she sees a seal, okay, on the cliff below. And so the cliff is 40 feet above. So I'm going to put a 40 right here. What is the horizontal distance? So horizontal distance is side to side. So I'm going to put my X right there. So because I'm looking for a side, that means I'm going to go ahead and need to use my regular old trig functions. And when I say regular old trig functions of Sohcahtoa, that's not the inverse, as we talked about in videos recently. This is like the OG. So I'm going to write the good old Sohcahtoa. I'm really a fan of writing Sohcahtoa for every single example in this unit. Then we're going to label. So this is the hypo. This is the opposite because it's the farthest. This is the adjacent because it's closest. And again, we're using from this theta that they gave us right here. Now, as I look at the hypo here, there's no information there and there's nothing I want there. So anything with that hypo h, I'm going to cross out. So by cosine, by sine. So this tells us that we're going to use tangent. So tangent of some theta is always going to be opposite over adjacent, and I'm going to make this tangent over 1 because I'm going to cross multiply. So let's plug in our information that we know. So tangent of 52 degrees over 1 is going to be opposite over adjacent. And so now I'm going to go ahead and use my calculator to do tangent 52. So if you haven't seen that before, but if you get out a good old calculator, you're going to see the tangent button. So you just do tan 52. And then notice it gives us that decimal. And I usually round to 3 decimal places. So that's what we're going to be using here today. So in this case, when I do my rounding, it's going to be 1.2 and then basically 8, because it's going to be 2799. So we're going to write that to 28 over 1 is equal to 40 over x. Now I'm going to cross multiply, so 1 times 40. That's going to give me 40. Sorry, I'm going to go up here because I'm running out of space. And then my other way here is going to be 1.28 times x. Now, we're not done yet. We need to divide both sides by that 1.28 so that we can solve for x. So when we put that in the calculator, because no one, I won't say no one, but most of us can't do that in our heads, we're going to get x is equal to 31.25, and I got 251. And then let's take a look. It looks like everything's in feet for this real life example, so I'm going to put feet here, and we're going to circle that as our answer. So the major difference in the videos before is sometimes we had more than one answer. Well, today we're only going to have just the answer we're looking for. We don't have to solve the right triangle and find everything. So we're done. All righty. So let's take a look at this next one. So it says, if the angle of elevation for the audience members' line of sight to the top of the acrobat's head is 27 degrees. Sorry, how far is the audience member from the base of the platform? I missed that first part. So that's our question. Now what we notice there, and I'm going to highlight this, is that it tells us angle of elevation. So I know, hey, angle of elevation is this triangle that we're going to draw right there. And I know it might not be the way you would think to draw it, but just keep it simple. Just decide it's one of these two triangles. It's either this one or this one. Leave it as is and solve for trig. You're going to be happier. All right, so it says the angle of elevation, so remember our theta is always right here because it's right next to the flat line, is 27 degrees, okay? And I'm like saying how far from the audience from the base of the platform. So the base of the platform, I always think the base is on the floor, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and say that my base is going to be this part right here. All right, so let's read the actual question and see what we can figure out. So at the circus, a person in the audience is at the ground level and watches on the high wire. A 6-foot tall acrobat is standing on a platform that's 25 feet tall. So just really quickly over here to the side. So if this is my platform here, this is 25 feet. And then my guy on top of it here, he is 6 feet. Okay, so then we have to look at it from how this is going to set up is I'm either going to use the base of the platform, which is 25 feet, or in this case, it says top of the acrobat's head. So that means this whole thing is going to be 31. So I'm going to put a 31 right there to help us find out all of the pieces here. So now we have it all labeled. So once again, if this is my theta, we'll zoom in here. So this is my hypo. This is the opposite. And this is the adjacent. And we'll go ahead and do our Sohcahtoa because that's going to be the plan here because we're looking for a side, so no angles in this case. So once again, this is my hypo, and I have no information there. There's no numbers, there's no variables, okay? No numbers, no variables. So that means I'm not going to use anything with an H. So once again, I'm going to use tangent again. In our word problems, I'm not going to lie, we use a lot of tangents. So tangent of some theta, thankfully we know that, is going to be opposite, and it's the O, so that's why it's opposite, over adjacent, the A. And remember, we're going to do that over 1. So this is going to become tangent of 27 over 1 is equal to 31 over x. All right, so let's go ahead and find out what that tangent of 27 is in our calculator. And we're going to find out that that is 0.5. Let's go 10 after we round there. Over 1 is equal to 31 over x. So we're going to cross multiply here. So 1 times 31 is going to be 31. And then when I cross multiply this way, we're going to get 0.510x. And then we'll go ahead and we will divide both sides by that decimal, 0.510. And we're going to go ahead and get our answer. I'll put that in our calculator right now because, like I said in the previous example, I'm not sure what that is. And so in this case, my x is going to be 60.841. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I like to circle my answer right here. And let's go ahead and just briefly say, does this answer make sense? So remember, there's 180 degrees in a triangle, so this is 90. So that means this is the largest. Now, we didn't want to find it, so, it's good to know, but that's not really what we're looking for. We're looking at the other two angles. So if we look at the other two angles, we know that if this is 27 degrees right here, then this has to be 63 degrees. So we know that that 63 is a much bigger angle. So it makes sense that my 60 right here would be so much bigger than the 27 that's going to connect it to that 31. Because a bigger angle is going to have a bigger side. So that's a good way to look at your answers and say, does it make sense? So please use that as you're doing these word problems to help you out. Oh my goodness gracious, this one looks like we have two buildings on different sides of the street. Lordy. So what I do see though is I see angle of depression. So that helps me. That tells me what kind of triangle I'm going to draw. Okay. And our answer on this one's kind of saucy, is we're going to find the height of the shorter building. Okay. So angle of depression implies that I'm going to do this triangle right here. I have very specific here, 26.565 degrees. Remember, our theta is always by the flat part. And so if you have two buildings, this is one building, and obviously you're looking down to the shorter building. So I'm going to put the tall building right here. I'm going to put the short building right there. Cool? So there's two buildings of two different sizes that are on opposite sides of the street. The street is 60 feet long. So I'm going to go ahead and say that 60 usually is down here because this would make sense that this would be a street. Well, that's going to be the same as up here, okay? So they're both 60, so I'm just going to put that up there to make it a little bit easier for me. And trying to find the height of the shorter building. So this is what I really want to know, okay? And it tells me that the taller building is 100. Okay, so how are we going to make this work? So if I think of this on this side is still 100, because that's the height of the taller building, if I could find this part y, then I could do y minus 100, and that will give me my shorter one. Okay, and that might be a little bit saucy, but we'll see it come through here in just a second. So I'm still going to focus on just this highlighted blue triangle right here. Okay, it's always going to be a right triangle, so I'll put my 90-degree box in there. This is going to be my theta, so this will be the opposite and the adjacent and the hypo. So once again, it looks like we're going to be using tangent. And the reason why I know that is as I write my Sohcahtoa out, I see that it says hypo here. There's no information. So anything with an H we can't use. So the tangent of some theta is going to be opposite over adjacent. We're going to do tangent over 1 so we can cross multiply. So the tangent of this very specific 26.565 degrees over 1 is going to be the opposite, which is y, over the adjacent, which is 60. So let's go ahead and find out what that tangent of 26.565 actually is. And I got pretty close to 0.5. So 0.5 over 1 is equal to y over 60. So then we'll cross multiply. So 1 times y is going to be y. And then cross multiply this way, and I'm going to go ahead and get 30. Oh, that's nice and easy. So maybe that's why I got such a specific decimal. So if this y is 30, and what y represents is as if this is the start of the tall building, and this right here is the shorter building, then I would say that the tall building is 30 feet higher than the short. So my tall is going to be the short plus 30 feet. So the tall was 100. The short is x plus 30. So the tall or the short building is going to be 70. Is this feet? Yep, we're dealing with feet again. So that is our answer right there. Yay. Alrighty, we have number 4 here, ladies and gentlemen. Do we have any words for you to try? Why don't you try number 4? Why don't you pause this video, give it a shot, and we'll see how well you did. Yeah, pause. Pause it. Do it. Take a sip of my coffee. It is 5:05 on a Friday. You can see that at the top left of this video. All right. So what is the distance from the Empire State to the nearest foot? Okay, distance. So more side stuff. So I see angle of elevation. So hopefully you drew this triangle right here. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and say that that's a 48.4 degrees. It says the height is 1472. And it's saying X feet from the base. Notice I see the base of the Empire State Building. I think base is on the floor. So we have this all set up. So it looks like, what is the distance to the Empire State Building? Now, it doesn't say the top. Because if it was the top, then I would think I would need to find the hypo. But since it's saying to the nearest foot on the base, and I already have this X feet right here, I'm really thinking I'm going to solve for X again, which, surprise, surprise, means tangent. So hopefully use the tangent of some theta over 1 is going to be the opposite over the adjacent. So opposite, adjacent. So this is going to be the tangent of 48.4 over 1 is going to be 1472 divided by x. All right, let's find out what that tangent of 48.4 is on our calculator. And I get 1.126 over 1 is equal to 1472 divided by x. So now a little cross multiplying action. Boom. So that's going to go ahead and give me this 1472. And then we'll cross multiply this way. And I'm going to get 1.126x. Now, because the x is not alone, I need to divide both sides. Running out of space there, but 1.126. So 1472 divided by that lovely decimal. And I got x is equal to 1306.903. And then we're still in feet mode. Lots of feet today. It's like a millipede or a centipede. Get it? Get it? Lots of feet? Sorry. Alrighty. Last one here, friends, and then you're done for the day. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me this morning, this afternoon, this evening, wherever you're watching. I appreciate that you're so diligent and you want to learn and get better. So this one's a little bit different because it's asking for what is the angle of elevation. So if I draw my triangle, I know that I'm actually finding this theta, which is now my x. Good to know. So this is where we have to use a little common sense here. So 6.5 is our tall. So I'm going to go with tall as this side right here. So we're going to do 6.5 right there. And then shadows are generally on the ground. Well, what if they're on the wall? Okay, we're going to go with the most realistic possibility here. So we'll put our 3 feet right down here. So in this case, we're going to use our Sohcahtoa, but I'm going to use my inverse. I'm going to use my inverse because I'm looking for an angle. So if I look at my theta here, this is the hypo, opposite, adjacent. So we're going to go ahead and say, alrighty, we'll use our tangent once again, big surprise. So tangent inverse, because I'm looking for the angle, is the opposite divided by the adjacent. And that's going to give us our theta. So in this case, we're going to do tangent inverse of 6.5 divided by 3 is equal to x. So this one is an inverse, so let's go ahead and take a look at that just in case we haven't seen that yet. So I hit second tangent to get that. And I already forgot what it was. It must be early. So 6.5 divided by 3. And we see that 65.22. Now, generally with degrees, you round pretty close to the nearest degree or nearest tenth. So we're just going to say 65.2. And that's it for today. So our x, or the theta, however you wanted to do it, was 66.2. Did I write that right? 60. See, I knew I did it wrong. 65.2. Lordy, don't make videos at 5 in the morning. Alrighty, friends, that's it for today. Hopefully you found this video helpful. And if you ever need anything, you come on by and we'll help you guys out.